ever worked in retail? If you have, you may have heard the expression, the customer is always right. Well, you know, here at Wizarding School, sometimes I get the impression the saying should be, the student is always right. I'll tell you a little story about that. About 4 or 5 years ago, it was right before the Yule Ball. All the students were very excited, especially the 4th years. This was the first year they were going to be able to attend the ball. And a lot of the boys were planning on asking a girl out for the very first time. There was one young man, a 4th year student, now nobody special, nobody you would ever have heard of before. His name was Murgie Archwhimple. Well, Murgie wanted to ask this girl to the ball, but he had a big problem. He had an extremely bad case of acne. So he decided he was going to go to the hospital wing and get some of that good bubo tuber salve that I was telling you about. But when he got to the hospital wing, Madame Pomfrey had to tell him she was sorry she was fresh out. Now there had been quite a run on it because of the Yule Ball, you understand. In fact, she had been down to the greenhouses to see me a couple days before, and I had to tell her I was sorry, but what with end-of-term tests and helping the students revise, I just wouldn't have time to get her any until after the holidays. Well, that's what she told Murgie. But he decided he was going to come right down to my office in the greenhouses and plead his case with me personally. Well, the minute that boy stepped through my door, I knew I had to help him. His face was a train wreck. I've never seen anything so spotty. So I decided, in the spirit of the holiday season, I would do a good deed. I would personally make him up a batch of bubo tuber salve. So I told him if he came back in about 3 hours, I would have it ready for him. So when he headed back up to the castle, I decided if I was going to do this, I was going to do it right. So I went out into the greenhouses and I found the juiciest, the plumpest bubo tuber I could. And I carefully squeezed that pus into a little dish, added a little bit of dittany, just a touch of extract of bruised lip tulip. I made the most lovely bubo tuber salve. Then I put it in a little glass vial. I even polished up the vial so it was all pretty looking. Well, when Murgie came back, you should have seen him. He was so happy. Oh, Professor, thank you. Oh, Professor, thank you. Thank you. You don't know what this means to me. Oh, Professor, I just love you. Oh, you don't know what this means to me. Now, Murgie, calm down. I have got to explain to you exactly how to use this salve. This is very important. I want you to pay attention. Now, you take the vial in this hand. Very carefully take your other hand. You uncork it. Take one finger, put it over the top of the vial, upside down, right side up. Now you have a little dot right on your finger. This is all you are going to use. You take your finger and you just tap around on your face, on the bumps, in between them, all around. That is all you need. You don't need any more. Take your lid, you put it back in your vial. You can put that vial in your drawer and forget about it for about 4 weeks. And then I looked at him and I said, well, in your case, maybe 2 weeks, but you won't need it for a while. And I looked over at Murgie, and his eyes were closed. And he was still muttering to himself, thank you, Professor, thank you, Professor, oh, thank you, Professor, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I said, Murgie, you haven't been paying attention. This is very important. Now I want you to pay attention to what I am telling you. Open your eyes, Mr. Archwhimple. You take the vial in this hand. Take this hand very carefully, uncork it. Take one finger, and I went through the entire spiel again. And I looked over at Murgie, and his eyes were open now, but they were kind of glassy, and he was swaying from side to side. So I knew he hadn't understood a word of what I said. And I decided what I would do is I would have to have him repeat back to me the instructions. That is the only way I was going to be sure that he knew exactly how to use the salve. And it's a good thing I did, because you know it took him 4 tries before he could say it back perfectly to me that I knew he understood exactly how to use this salve. Well, he headed back up to the castle, and he was walking and thinking and walking and thinking, and that can be dangerous for some of our students. And what he was thinking was, well, I can only assume this is what he was thinking because of what happened later. What he was thinking was, if 1 fingerful of bubotuber salve is good, 2 fingerfuls would be even better. That's what he would use. He would use 2 fingerfuls. He would have the best looking skin at the Yule Ball. And he kept walking and thinking and walking and thinking, and unfortunately it's a very long walk from the greenhouses back up to the castle. Well, that night, Murgie waited till all the boys in his dormitory were asleep, and he sat down on the edge of his bed, and he took his little vial, and he carefully uncorked it. And he poured the entire vial contents into his hands, rubbed it all over his face, threw the empty vial in the garbage bin, and he went to sleep. Well, the next morning, because he was very excited, he woke up early before anyone else. First thing he did, he wanted to see if it had worked. So he put his hand up to his cheek. It had worked. His face was as smooth as a baby's bottom. Unfortunately, it now smelled like a baby's bottom, and not a very clean baby's bottom, if you know what I mean. Well, that's the thing with bubotuber salve. If you use too much, 2 fingerfuls, 3 fingerfuls, it has a chemical reaction with the normal oil that's in your skin. And of course, when you have a skin condition, such as acne, it's usually caused by excess oil in your skin. Well, with the amount of salve Murgie had put on and the amount of oil in his very bad case of acne, it was quite a disaster. And there is nothing you can do about that smell. You can't magic it away. You can't cover it up with a cologne or an aftershave. It has got to wear off very gradually. Do you know it was the middle of his 6th year before anyone would sit next to that boy in class? He was the only student in the history of the school ever to be given a private bedroom. And of course, he didn't ask the girl to the ball. He didn't even attend the ball himself. Not that he could have. The students got up a petition. Matter of fact, a few of us teachers signed that petition too. We were chaperones, you know. And who do you think got blamed for this incident? Was it Murgie, who disregarded all of my careful instructions? No, it was not. It was me, the good deed doer. The headmaster called me into his office and he said, "Griselda, I am ashamed of you. How could you have let this thing happen? Why didn't you explain to Murgie exactly how to use this salve? You know what can happen." And I tried to defend myself. But headmaster, I did explain. I explained it to him 3 times, and then I had him I don't even want to hear it, Griselda. Obviously, you did not explain enough. I don't care if you had to explain it to him 20 times. That's what you should have done. What am I going to tell poor Mr. Archwhimple's parents? We'll have to let the boy stay here for his holidays, possibly the entire summer. And I was planning a wine tasting tour of Europe. Very inconvenient. In the future, any bubotuber pus that you or your students collect is to be given directly to Madame Pomfrey in the hospital wing. She is the only person who is going to be responsible for making and distributing bubotuber salve. Do you understand? Yes, headmaster, I understand. Sorry, sir, it won't happen again. Life isn't fair sometimes.